there, what's going on, everybody? Welcome back to the Mid-Level Media channel. This is your hub for everything physical media and entertainment. I am Ken. Today, guys, we are here to review a 4K release of Stanley Kubrick's last film. A lot of people would say it's his last masterpiece film, and that is Eyes Wide Shut on 4K from the Criterion Collection. I was kind of dreading going back and rewatching this one because it's never been one of my favorite Kubrick films. I've said before on this channel, it's like second to last for me as far as Kubrick's filmography. And I have seen all of Kubrick's movies other than his first two movies, which are like an hour long. I've seen From the Killing on. I've seen all of his movies. And this one's always ranked at the end. So we'll talk about the movie again. Does it still rank at the end for me? But of course, we're also going to talk about the picture quality. How does this hold up as a 4K restoration? I will say right now, I never owned the Blu-ray. Again, I was just never really a fan of this movie, and I rewatched it a few years ago on streaming. Still wasn't a fan, so I never bought the Blu-ray. Also, I kind of knew at some point that Warner Brothers was going to do a 4K of this, which they didn't. They licensed it to Criterion, but they were doing a ton of Kubrick movies on 4K back in 2018, 2019. I'm like, well, they'll do Eyes Wide Shut. If I grab it, I'll wait for the 4K. So I never owned the Blu-ray. I never owned the DVD. I can't really speak on past releases and how it compares, but what I can do is just tell you guys from my eyes, like, what did this look like on 4K? I've seen enough 4Ks. I know what a good 4K looks like. Eyes Wide Shut from 1999. Very interesting that in 1999, Tom Cruise was really leaning heavy into the dramas, and it kind of felt like he was really trying to be taken seriously as an actor. Doesn't feel that way as much anymore, even though I think he's still got a lot to give as far as a dramatic actor, and I hope that he leans that way a little bit more as he gets a little bit older and gets out of the Mission Impossible, Top Gun stuff. Not that I don't like those movies. Well, I didn't really like the recent Mission Impossible film, but I think he does have something left to give as far as a dramatic actor. But he did Magnolia this year, and he did Eyes Wide Shut. And these are two of what a lot of people would say are his best roles in film. And at this time, you know, Nicole Kidman and Tom Cruise were married, and this was kind of promoted as almost like a softcore porn with the highest profile celebrity couple out there at the time. Like, that's how I remember this movie being promoted. I mean, you see Nicole Kidman like undressing like in the trailers, and then the poster of the movie itself, which this on the cover, guys, was actually the poster that Stanley Kubrick's wife did, and they wanted to be the poster, but the studio said no. They wanted like Tom Cruise. They wanted it to be known that Tom Cruise and Nicole Kidman were like in the film, and they wanted that to be a part of the heavy promotion of the movie. But the movie itself, it's a very sexual film. It's a very dark movie as well, and it does dive into that stuff. But it doesn't really have like a ton of sex between Nicole Kidman and Tom Cruise. And I think that's what a lot of people were expecting. I mean, there are a couple of sex scenes, but they're not really that, that intense. But what I'll also say about that is this is the international cut. So this is the cut that has all the like full on sex scenes when he's going through the cult sex party, masquerade party in the movie, and you see everybody just screwing everywhere. Like, this has that on full display. This is the international version. Interesting, because in the US, they actually like digitally put in people like in front of other people having sex to block it out. All of those like digital people that they put in front of those sex scenes, in front of those sex acts, is out of this version. So this is the international version. In the US version, they put all that stuff in. The movie itself, I have changed my opinion. I like this movie quite a bit more than I remember liking it the last time I watched it, which was like 2018, 2019, the last time I watched this movie. It started to click for me a little bit more. I've always been on the mindset that this is not Tom Cruise and Nicole Kidman's strongest performances, and I never thought that they had like great chemistry together in the movie. And this time I kind of thought the other way. I kind of felt like they did have really good chemistry in the movie, and I kind of felt like their performances were really good. I just think they were a little bit too nuanced for me to like fully pick up on and I guess digest the first time I watched it, or even the second time I watched it a few years ago. I feel like I really needed to be in tune with like what was going on and the themes of the movie to really understand the performance. Nicole Kidman has a scene in this, like that monologue that she delivers, that's like 12 to 13 minutes long. and it like really just cuts you in your soul like when you're watching her and she's just pouring it all out there. And that's kind of the overarching like theme of the movie and the inciting incident that kind of leads Tom on his very dark like sexual journey. That scene's incredible and she's incredible in that scene. And I completely got that this time and was completely locked into it. So in the movie itself, it's 2 hours and 40 minutes. And I was pretty engaged and enjoying the film for the majority of it. My only issue with the movie is they kind of go into very strange territory with the masquerade party, the sex cult stuff, the dark stuff. And it doesn't feel like there's a real resolution to that. I mean, there is kind of a resolution to that, but they don't really explore that fully. It feels like they just inject all that stuff for almost no reason, but I just don't like the resolution of it. I don't feel like they wrap it up particularly well. They just kind of end it and then they go on their Christmas shopping, and then Nicole Kidman has her famous line at the end, which I won't repeat here. But again, it is a movie that I've seen now 3 times. And as I start to digest it more, I am getting more into the movie and the themes of the film. So it is something that upon further exploration, I could feel differently about in years to come. So that should be noted as well. So my problems with the movie may change over time, and to me, that's a mark of a great film. I do think this is kind of a great film. It's still not my favorites of Stanley Kubrick's movies, but it has moved up. It's not second to last anymore. I would say that this one's firmly in the middle. But getting into the actual 4K itself, this is where things are going to get a little bit dicey. And I personally, I really like this 4K. I thought it was a really strong 4K overall, and I think that Criterion did the best job that they possibly could. And I think that people that are purists for Eyes Wide Shut are going to be very happy with this restoration. It is a new restoration of the film, supervised and approved by director of photography Larry Smith, and it's got Dolby Vision and it's got HDR. The issue that I think a lot of people are going to have is this is not a very slick, like cleaned up version of the movie. And I think a lot of people are maybe expecting that. It's not The Shining on 4K. It's not Full Metal Jacket on 4K. It's not even really a Clockwork Orange on 4K. It is kind of its own style of 4K, if you will. It has a very thick, like heavy grain structure to it. It's also a movie that Stanley Kubrick utilized a lot of natural lighting. Like there's a famous, like the scene in the beginning, is like they utilized all the candlelight, all the actual like natural lighting in that ballroom for that party in the beginning. He used that. He had no additional lighting when he did that scene, and he did that in several scenes throughout the movie. Utilized a lot of natural lighting. I think because of that, there are scenes and there are moments that are a little bit more fuzzy looking when you're taking into account like the background of the actual characters. Like the characters themselves, really good definition, really good detail. But when you're looking at some of those backgrounds, there's a lot of stuff that you really can't make out that well. And I think that's because of the lighting and how the lighting wasn't so strong, or wasn't that traditional like movie making lighting. Like he was really trying to go for that natural look. And I think because of that, I think that on 4K, the movie looks the best that it's probably ever looked on physical media. But looking back at some of the reviews of the past Blu-ray releases, people have never really been happy with this film and how it's looked on physical media before. I think that this is probably going to be the best case scenario for a lot of people and how this film looks, but I think it just goes back to the original material, how it was filmed, how it was lit. That's kind of what I see people having the most issue with. But I do think that I do trust that Criterion gave us the most natural presentation of this movie on 4K that they possibly could. And there are some sequences that do look absolutely stunning, like the entire sequence in that party and all that cult ritualistic stuff, that weird stuff, the masquerade party, people wearing the mask, all the reds and the colors in the background, and Tom Cruise in the close-up in the mask. All that stuff looks great. That entire sequence where he's walking through that mansion, all that stuff looks incredible. It's an incredible sequence that looks phenomenal in 4K. And there are several moments and sequences like that in the film. I just think that overall, it is a very grainy, kind of rough looking 4K presentation. And I think that some people are going to watch this and be like, oh my goodness, that doesn't look that great on 4K. To me, though, I think it is the most natural that this film has ever looked. And I think that this is probably the most true representation of the movie and how it looks visually. So I think that Criterion did do a good job on this 4K release. Like I said, I can't compare it personally to the past Blu-ray release, but I did look up a couple of reviews of the last Blu-ray release that came out, and they were not very positive. So I think as far as an upgrade, this is probably the best that you're going to get for a 4K presentation of Eyes Wide Shut. And I do think the HDR did a lot of good stuff for some of those colors and some of those sequences in the movie. And this is kind of a Christmas film as well. And it's weird because I've heard people say this is a Christmas movie in the past, and I was like, oh my goodness. But watching it now, I'm like, this really does kind of invoke the Christmas feels. And I do feel comfortable calling Eyes Wide Shut a Christmas movie, actually. And some of the Christmas lights and stuff in the background, some of that stuff looks great with that HDR on that Dolby Vision. And I did pop in the Blu-ray because they included the Blu-ray here. And the Blu-ray looks fine, but it was almost even more fuzzy than the 4K was, even less clarity on the Blu-ray than the 4K was. So I do want to make that known. Like if you're getting this and maybe you're happy with your Blu-ray, I don't think this 4K is for everybody, if that makes any sense. It is a very natural, grainy, gritty kind of presentation of the film. But I do think that I think that Stanley Kubrick would approve of this restoration, though, if he were still alive. I'll just say that. Now, getting into the sound, guys, you have a 5.1 here surround DTS HD Master Audio soundtrack. I don't think they did any new work with the sound. I think this is the same sound as before, but I could be wrong. It would help maybe if I pulled the booklet out. They might give me a little information here. So yeah, I'm not seeing anything about the sound here in the book, but what I'm going to do, guys, because I just talked about the restoration, they've got a lot of details on the restoration here in this booklet that kind of go into everything that I was talking about with the lighting and everything. So if you want to check this out, I mean, they worked extensively with everybody, the people that had the people that are in charge of the Stanley Kubrick archive and all that stuff to put this 4K out. So like I said, I have no doubt they did the best they possibly could to put this movie out, put this film out on 4K. And overall, I think it's a very strong 4K. And yeah, the sound-wise, guys, 5.1 sounds great. The score in this film is extremely out there, but also kind of mesmerizing and enchanting at the same time. Like the whole score, like when he's walking through the mansion, or just the people chanting, it's very kind of off-putting. It puts you in a weird mood for sure. But the entire score of the movie and the soundtrack is absolutely fantastic. All that stuff sounds great. Getting into the unboxing, I talked a little bit about the artwork. I will say the artwork looks better, in person. I do enjoy it. I mean, the fact that it's the artwork that Kubrick and his wife wanted. I mean, that's why Criterion did it at the end of the day. So it doesn't really matter if you like it or not. They did it for historical reasons, and it has significance. So, but right there, you got the cover, you got the back. If you want to read that, look at the special features there. Sorry about the glare, guys. And this is spine number 1290. So this has never been in the Criterion Collection before. But you open this up, it's a 3-disc set. So you have the movie on 4K and Blu-ray, and then you got all the special features housed on the 3rd disc. But you got Tom and Nicole on the 4K, and then you got them split up on the Blu-rays right there. And on the interior, you have that shot of Nicole sleeping in bed with a mask at the end. So I'm not going to take all the discs out for that, but that is on the that's on the inside. And then you've also got this book, which I've already showed off. You got the front of that, you got the back of that, all kinds of great writings on the film inside, which is some really good stuff. Diving into the special features, guys, I haven't seen Criterion go this all out on new special features in quite some time. They really did extraordinary work. You have a new interview here with Larry Smith, the cinematographer on this film, and he talks about his career working with Stanley Kubrick, knowing Stanley Kubrick and all that stuff. That's a really good interview. Then you got a interview with Lisa Leone, the set decorator, which is really good. But then the archivist interview with Georgina Orgill, who's in charge of the Stanley Kubrick archives, or at least works there. That's a really interesting, look at the preservation of Stanley Kubrick movies in this archive, and then the film Eyes Wide Shut itself. That's a really good feature. Then you got an archival interview with Kubrick's wife that I want to say was filmed in 2012, but I don't think it's ever been seen before. I think they edited it for this particular release, but that's a really good interview with her, and she talks about this artwork in that interview, and their thoughts and their struggles with wanting to make this film. They talk about, like, this is a movie Stanley Kubrick wanted to make, and this is an adaptation of like a 20s novella or something. This is a movie that Kubrick wanted to make for like pretty much his entire career. And they go back like talking about how like how the nuggets of this and the origins of him wanting to make this movie started all the way back in the 60s, and him and his wife arguing over making the movie, and she didn't want to make it, and then the Clockwork Orange script came on the table, and they're like, we're going to do that instead. So it went all the way back. Like he was wanting to. It is kind of fitting this was his last movie. It really is. Then you got Never Just a Dream, which is a 2019 short film where they talk about the origins of the ambition of Kubrick wanting to make this movie. It's about 9 minutes long. It's a really good feature as well. Then you got Lost Kubrick, the unfinished films of Stanley Kubrick from 2007. I think that was on the Blu-ray. So a lot of these were on the past Blu-ray. Kubrick Remembered from 2014, featuring interviews with actors Todd Field and Leigh Sobieski and filmmaker Steven Spielberg. Then you got Kubrick's 1998 acceptance speech for Directors Guild of America, press conference from 1999 featuring Harlan and actors Tom Cruise and Nicole Kidman. This is actually pretty cool. I don't know if this has ever been seen before. I don't think it's been on a physical release before, but it's Nicole Kidman and Tom Cruise in like a press screening, like talking about the movie back in 1999. And I thought that was a really good kind of interview feature there. Then you got teaser trailer, promotions, all that stuff. But yeah, this is absolutely stacked with special features, guys, and more stuff than you could ever hope for and wish for Eyes Wide Shut on physical media on 4K. So I am very happy with this release. To me, this is kind of definitively the best Criterion release of 2025. I think it's up there at least with Sorcerer. I would maybe put Sorcerer up against this, but I think with everything that's included here, all the new stuff, I think it's hard to kind of deny Eyes Wide Shut on 4K from the Criterion Collection. It's available right now, guys, at least if I get this out quickly enough before the sale ends, but it's available on Amazon for 25 bucks. So if you're a fan of the film, or even if you're a fan of Stanley Kubrick and you want to explore more of his filmography, I can definitely recommend this release from the Criterion Collection just for all the educational, like, supplemental materials that it provides here as well. So thank you so much for watching my review of Eyes Wide Shut on 4K from the Criterion Collection. Like, comment, subscribe to the channel if you haven't already. Turn on those bell notifications for all future videos, and follow me on all my social media accounts. Those links are down below in the description, and we'll see you next time.